Hey everyone, welcome to the first installment in what I have dubbed the Rant series. If you're wondering why I call them this, because basically anyone who knows me personally knows that I like to rant about things that I'm passionate about. Cars are one of those things. But today's video is going to be sort of related to the summertime. We're going to be in season here, and this video is a rant about roller coasters. Amusement parks are obviously a big part of the summertime, something a lot of people look forward to, and roller coasters I have been into since I was a little kid. In case you're wondering, with these Rant videos, basically what we do in these videos is I'm just going to sit in front of the camera very casually and just talk about stuff and just rant. But I always encourage you guys to come back to actually comment and give me some feedback on these videos, and let me know your thoughts and opinions about these things. I realize we're not going to agree on everything. However, I feel like a lot of people my age might agree with some of the points I have to make in this video. So, roller coasters. Roller coasters, as you may or may not know, have been around for over 100 years. There are a couple of roller coasters out there that are over 100 years old and are still in operation. There is one out there right now that holds the title for the world's oldest roller coaster. I can't remember where it's located or what it's called, but it is still in operation. I'm pretty sure it's received some extensive work. There's actually a POV, point of view video of it on YouTube. So if you type in the search bar like world's oldest roller coaster or something like that, there is a video of it. I believe it's under Coaster Force's channel, if you're familiar with them. Coaster Force does a lot of POV videos on YouTube. They're one of the most well-known ones, as well as Theme Park Review. It could be their channel. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it's one of them. But basically, I got myself some notes here. Basically, I'm going to go answer this first question is, what types of coasters are out there? Well, very generally speaking, there's two types of roller coasters out there. There's wooden coasters and there's steel coasters. And some people have a preference as to which one they would prefer over the other. And in those two types of roller coasters, especially with steel, there are so many different types of different steel coasters out there. For instance, hyper coasters, giga coasters, just regular steel looping roller coasters, and there's a bunch of different manufacturers that make these coasters. So there's really a bunch of different companies out there that ultimately determine what kind of ride it's going to be. Each of them is known specifically for maybe the style of track they use or the train types. Those of you who are roller coaster aficionados might recognize them by company name, whereas a lot of people will just know them by roller coaster names. So for instance, let's say if I bring up the roller coaster, let's pick one a lot of people know. How about Kingda Ka, which was once the tallest and fastest roller coaster in the world. I believe it still holds the record for the tallest, although that's soon to be broken by Disney World. However, something did top it for fastest not too long ago. Those of you unfamiliar with Kingda Ka, it's located at Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey. It is built by Intamin, one of the leading coaster companies out there. It is a launch coaster. It goes from 0 to 128 miles per hour in 3.5 seconds and goes up a 456-foot tall vertical tower. So think about that. That's crazy insane. It's totally unnecessary, really. But these roller coaster companies are constantly competing with each other, and that roller coaster, I believe, debuted at Great Adventure back in 2005 or 2006. It's already been there almost 10 years, and it held the record for a long time, and it's still one of the most highly anticipated rides out there. The one before that, I believe, was Top Thrill Dragster at Cedar Point, which is also built by Intamin. It's a lot like it. It's 420 feet tall, and I think the top speed is 120. So obviously not a tremendous difference there, but it's incredible that we can build these roller coasters that'll go that high and that fast. It's unbelievable. And the funny part is people wait, I think I've heard people wait 7 hours for Kingda Ka in line. That's insane. I don't know if I could justify waiting that long. And the thing about that ride, as well as Top Thrill Dragster and several other of Intamin's coasters, is they're very, very short. I mean, they go so fast and so high, but they're not that long compared to, let's say, other roller coasters out there. But what makes a great coaster for me? Well, of course, excitement is number one. If it's not exciting, you're going to be bored riding it. You're not going to ride it again, chances are. Or you'll just ride it if you are bored as all hell at the park and you have nothing better to do. Intensity is another thing. You know, honestly, the more intense a roller coaster is can drastically affect its excitement. If any of you out there have played the very famous PC game Roller Coaster Tycoon, you know, they have made 3 of those games. The first one, the second one, and the third, and they've made expansion packs for them. I have played them my entire life. Sometime this year, they're apparently coming out with Roller Coaster Tycoon World, which will be the 4th game they've ever made. And it was supposed to come out in January. Well, it's still not out now, and it's May, so I don't know what's going on with Atari and why it's taken so long. But anyway, if you've played those games, you'll know how many roller coaster types are out there. And they named them in those games they gave them interesting names. Like, for instance, any of you know the roller coaster companies Vekoma and Aerodynamics. If you know the corkscrew coaster in those games, that was basically a Vekoma or an Aerodynamics roller coaster named as the corkscrew coaster. The Twister roller coaster and the Hyper Twisters, those simulate roller coasters built by B&M, Bolliger and Malibird, one of the biggest names out there in roller coasters. I remember in the 3rd game, they came out with the Hershey Storm Runner. Any of you know Storm Runner at Hershey Park in Hershey, Pennsylvania? That is an Intamin launch coaster. I've ridden it numerous times. It's an awesome roller coaster. And they put that ride into Roller Coaster Tycoon 3 if you got the Soaked expansion pack, which added water parks and pools and a bunch of other rides available. So it was pretty cool. But I don't want to get too off track talking about Roller Coaster Tycoon here. But first off, what makes a great roller coaster for me is, I would say, one that's exciting, has some intensity, but it's not too over the top, and it has a cool layout. I mean, if it's visually appealing, you're going to want to ride it anyway, just because it looks cool. So those are some of the things that make great roller coasters for me. Now, in terms of some of the other manufacturers out there, I've named Intamin a couple times. However, they don't exactly have a great rep. They build awesome roller coasters, I'll tell you that much, but they also build very problematic roller coasters. I've noticed King Dakar and other sophisticated rides like that break down constantly. I mean, like every day in some of their cases. It's crazy. They're not very reliable. And any of you who have ridden Sky Rush at Hershey Park, Fahrenheit, they're also built by Intamin. Millennium Force at Cedar Point is an Intamin Giga Coaster, 310 feet. So those are a couple of the roller coasters that they build. Like I mentioned with B&M, Bolliger and Malibird, they manufacture Talon at Dorney Park, Great Bear at Hershey Park, Alpengeist at Williamsburg, Virginia, Busch Gardens. A lot of the Batman roller coasters. Most of the 4-seat across inverts are built by them. They also build floorless roller coasters like Hydra the Revenge at Dorney. Dorney Park's located in Allentown, in case you're unfamiliar. Kraken at SeaWorld in Florida. Medusa, which is now known as Bizarro at Six Flags Great Adventure. Sorry, I think Medusa's a way better name. So those are some of those that they make. The Incredible Hulk Coaster at Islands of Adventure at Universal Studios in Orlando. Those are some of them. Those are just a couple of manufacturers. Another big one, as we go through the list of different types here, Hyper Coasters is a coaster type I mentioned not too long ago in the video. And a hyper coaster is basically defined as any roller coaster that exceeds 200 feet or more. They are called hyper coasters, otherwise known as mega coasters. Bolliger and Malibird manufacture tons of those things. If any of you know Nitro at Great Adventure, that was built in, I think, 2001. It's 230 feet. One of the most famed hyper coasters out there. I've never ridden it. I want to really badly. It's still one of the most popular rides in the park. And There's many out there. They just came out with a new one this year called Fury 325 at Carowinds in North Carolina. I think it's in Charlotte. Looks like an amazing roller coaster, and because it's a B&M, they're known for being very smooth and very exciting rides, so I would definitely like to get down there and ride it if I could. 325 feet. Another one with hypercoasters that's a little bit older of a company is Morgan, the Morgan Company. Going back to Dorney Park again, Steel Force, the 205-foot tall roller coaster in the back of the park, manufactured by Morgan. Honestly, I feel like that is one of the best hypercoasters you'll ever ride. Hear me out. It doesn't exactly have the craziest layout. It has a cool layout, but if you look at the coaster, it's not overly complex. It's simple. And the design of the ride is straightforward. Carry you to what was considered for 1997 an insane height, over 200 feet, and let you go. Just by a chain lift, take you all the way up and let you drop. Top speed 75 miles per hour. At the bottom of the drop, you're experiencing 2.5 positive Gs. That's a lot of G-forces. Camel humps on the way back, a huge helix after the third hill. You know, it's a simple ride, but it's so exciting. There's so much airtime on it, and just tons of G-forces. It's a lot of fun, and honestly, I've ridden a lot of hypercoasters, and that definitely ranks up there as one of the best. It's just pure fun, and it's a different ride wherever you sit on the train. The trains are so large on that coaster that if you sit in the front, it's a totally different ride than the back, and it's also a different ride from the middle. So personally, I like the back on the coaster. You're the tail, the whip, and it's just so much fun. However, in the front, I think sometimes you do get a little bit more airtime, so whatever you would prefer. All right, so we've talked a lot about steel coasters. Now let's go into wooden roller coasters. Wooden coasters. I am a huge advocate of saving woodies because my generation, I'm staring at you, is because you guys are mostly in favor of destroying the woodies. What's wrong with you? Wooden coasters have been around since roller coasters came about. They've been around for a long time, and they're not ancient dinosaur age. Some of the best roller coasters in general out there I've ridden are wooden coasters. And they have this stereotype of being rough, noisy, all that bad stuff. However, that's mostly because they're not taken care of. Most wooden coasters are older at parks, I've noticed. And unfortunately, a lot of parks are just too lazy to invest the money and time into maintaining their wooden roller coasters. For example, let's go back to Six Flags. I've dubbed this the Six Flags mentality. Let a roller coaster deteriorate over years and years, tear it down, and build a new one. And oftentimes its replacement is not any better. In fact, it's worse and far more problematic than the one that preceded it. Or there's the other part, what is called giving a wooden coaster the Iron Horse treatment, turning it into a hybrid coaster. What a hybrid coaster generally is it's a fake wooden roller coaster. It looks like a wooden coaster. It's got wooden supports, but it's got steel track. So El Toro at Six Flags Great Adventure recognized as one of the greatest wooden roller coasters out there. It's not a real wooden coaster. The new Texas Giant at Six Flags Over Texas. If you haven't seen the original Texas Giant, it was a full wooden roller coaster, and it looked amazing. I've never ridden it, but what they were thinking by turning it into the hybrid is beyond me. And of course, you had the lady, who was killed on it a couple years ago. I'm not going to get into that, but now that was obviously a very big story throughout the news. But so they don't maintain them. However, there's other woodies require a little more maintenance than steel coasters do, and unfortunately, they just don't want to invest the money into their older rides. For some reasons, I could understand that. However, if you would have maintained them from day one, they'd probably have a larger fan base to this day because they'd be more pleasant to ride, and chances are you wouldn't have had to tear them down or give them the Iron Horse treatment in the first place. And if you did tear them down, chances are they'd still be standing at your park, but because you didn't bother to maintain them, they've gone to hell, essentially. locally speaking, Rolling Thunder was a racing wooden coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. It was built. El Toro was built around it, actually. It was torn down, I think, at the end of 2012 because it was old. It wasn't that old. It was built in 1979, I think. It was in bad shape, though. It screeched horribly. It looked bad. It was just in terrible, terrible shape from years of neglect. That's what gives wooden roller coasters a bad name. However, there's a lot of great ones out there. If you go to Hershey Park, they have some of the best wooden coasters you'll ever ride. The Comet is the oldest roller coaster in the park, built in 1946, I believe. Huge, huge following. The line for that thing is like an hour long sometimes with the families. It's very smooth because it's been well cared for, and it's a fun ride. It's not the most exciting Woody out there, but it's still fun. I enjoy riding it. And then the bigger ones they have in the park, the Wildcat, built by GCI, Great Coasters International. One of the best Woodies ever ridden. It's kind of rough, but it's awesome. And of course, the Lightning Racer. Awesome GCI Woody at Hershey Park. Now, one thing in particular they did to the Wildcat is they put what are known as Millennium Flyer trains on it to replace the old trains built by PTC, which stands for Philadelphia Toboggan Company. If you've played Roller Coaster Tycoon, they are the articulated wooden roller coaster trains are what Millennium Flyers are. Basically, they're a very lightweight train. They're comfortable, they've got nice cushioned seats and everything, and they're very spacious. However, they're a lot lighter than the PTC trains are. So they lose their speed way faster than PTCs do. Wildcat originally had PTCs. They replaced them with Millennium Flyers not too long ago. And if you've ridden the Wildcat with the old trains versus the new, you'll notice the coaster does definitely lose a significant amount of speed by the end of the ride compared to what it used to, especially for how little it has to slow down now on the final brake run compared to what it used to with the old ones. So it's kind of a shame that they did that. I wish they would have kept the old ones. It felt a lot more like a Wildcat than it does now. It's still a good ride, but if you ride the Lightning Racer with a fully loaded train compared to an almost empty train, the difference in the ride is nearly night and day. It's really, really unbelievable. It's almost boring with an empty train because it's going so slow towards the end compared to a fully loaded train where it's going a lot faster. Why would they design a train like that? That just doesn't make any sense to me, and I wish companies would stop using them because I don't like them. I like the old trains, the heavy ones that made the coasters go fast, and they didn't lose their speed so fast. And whether they were fully loaded, yeah, they were still fast as fully loaded, but the difference wasn't night and day compared to fully loaded or nearly empty compared with the Millennium Flyers. Also another park out there that is all about keeping the old tradition alive. Knoebels Amusement Resort in Ely'sburg, PA. I gave you guys a shout out in my last video. The Phoenix and the Twister are two of their famed Woodies that they have. They're two of the best roller coasters you'll ever ride. Bar none. The Phoenix is 75 feet tall. That's it. And when you look at it by today's standards, some people would consider it rather unimpressive. But then you ride it, and you realize you spend more time out of your seat than you do in it. It has the old-fashioned 3 6-seater cars with 4 cars per train for a total of 24 riders, and it's got the old-fashioned buzz bars that don't even come down to your lap. It doesn't have seat belts. You fly out of your seat. It has so much airtime. It's awesome. It's a great classic Woody. It's from 1947. It's been at Knoebels since 1985, and they take excellent care of it. It's as smooth as Woodies get, essentially, and still ranked as one of the top Woodies out there. Then they built the Twister back in 1999, which has the newer PTC trains, which are 4-seater cars, 6 cars per train for also 24 riders, and the newer lap bars that come down to your lap. However, also does not have seat belts. And the Twister's a different layout. It twists and turns about every direction. It's all about relentless speed, and it doesn't give you a break during the ride, really. Lots of G-forces. It feels completely out of control. It's awesome. So I'm an advocate of saving wooden coasters because they offer a thrill that steel coasters simply cannot. 45 miles per hour on a wooden coaster feels incredibly fast compared to 45 miles per hour on a steel coaster, which essentially feels slow. So they make you laugh, and they put a smile on your face that steel coasters just can't. So there's a difference between the two. So you can't call them dinosaur age, and they still make them. There's a lot of great woodies out there, and there's also a lot of bad ones. But they didn't start out bad. It's the fact that they weren't taken care of. Because you guys would rather see newer, less reliable rides that are insanely tall and last 30 seconds instead of over a minute long in the parks, and you'd rather wait 7 hours for them. That's an exaggeration for some rides, but others not so much. Then you would wait a shorter amount of time for a ride that you can just get back on and ride all day long if you enjoy it. Wouldn't you rather that? I would. Now, I may be old-fashioned, but that's just my opinion. Now, there are hybrid coasters out there. There's one in particular I can think of built by CCI, Custom Coasters International, that they consider a wood coaster. If you've ever ridden the Great White at Morey's Piers in Wildwood, New Jersey. I rode it this past weekend. I've always enjoyed it. I think it's a good coaster. That has steel supports, wooden track. That's more of a wooden coaster I would consider than hybrid coasters ever could be with the steel track wooden supports. It looks a lot more like a wooden coaster, and it rides a lot more like one, the important part. Hybrid coasters just don't ride like wooden coasters. They ride like steel coasters, and there's a difference. So I guess I'm going to conclude the video there because I feel like I've lost track of where I'm actually supposed to be with this. But this is my word on roller coasters. So don't knock them because, you know, there's one out there for everyone. If you don't like it, fine. Go ride the one you do like. Don't knock the woodies. Save the woodies. And amusement parks, honestly, listen to us. I'm not the only one preaching to you save the woodies. There's a lot of people out there who feel the same I do. Take care of them from day one. They're much more pleasant to ride. You'll get a larger rider base for them, and you'll keep them in the park for a lot longer. And chances are they will outlast any of these new steel coasters that you're putting in that are overly complex and break down on you every day. And you won't have crazy lines for those rides anymore. They'll even out throughout the park. So I'm going to stop there. That's my word on roller coasters. I'd love to hear, some of your thoughts on roller coasters out there that you think are great, and maybe your favorite type. So feel free to leave a comment below. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. I know I talk a lot and I kind of lose track of where I'm going. But I am Matt. This is the first installment of my Matt Rant series. Like I said in my introduction video, I don't have editing software yet, so this is going to be the full video probably. It's a little raw and unedited and unrefined, I know, but they'll get better as we go. So have a good summer, everyone. This isn't goodbye for the summer, don't worry. But enjoy your summer and enjoy your amusement park trips. Take care.